A business visionary and entrepreneur, Michael E. Gerber, speaks to business owners throughout the country on how to bring the dream back to American business.
I'm delighted to be here this morning, and I want to introduce you to a subject near and dear to my heart: why most businesses don't work and what to do about it. Essentially, that's the last part of the title of my book, The E-Myth. And what we're going to be talking about here over the next 30 to 45 minutes is essentially that subject: why most businesses don't work and what to do about it. And the fact is that most businesses don't. I don't know whether you're familiar with these statistics or not, but I think it's really, really important that we understand the condition of American business as it is, rather than as people would love to think of it. According to the IRS, there are 18.1 million businesses in the country today. Of those 18.1 million businesses, only 100,000 employ 100 or more people. That means that 18 million of the 18.1 million businesses in this country today are small businesses. What most people also don't understand is that every year in this country we're going through some form of transformation. More and more people are going into business for themselves than ever have done that before. Every year in this country, more than 1 million new people go into business with the absolute certainty that they're going to change their lives, change their fortunes, become totally independent, and get rid of the boss. And unfortunately, what happens is they go to work for a lunatic themselves, and in the process create a disaster. You see, what they don't realize is that the statistics, the odds, are so much against them that if they really, really, really understood what it meant to go into business for oneself, what it means to run a business, what it means to be a small business owner, they simply would put their money in a CD, save it, and prepare for their later years in life. In other words, keep the job they've got. What I'm going to suggest is that the reason we have a problem in business today, and it's an extraordinary problem of dimensions most people really can't understand, is that the people who are going into business aren't who we think they are. Think about it. Of the 1 million businesses started last year in this country, fully 800,000 of them will have failed by the time they would have reached their 5th anniversary. 800,000 out of 1 million right out of business. Now, for those of you who have been in business for longer than 5 years, please don't breathe a sigh of relief, because the rest of the good news is the remaining 20%, or 200,000, fully 80% of them will fail in the next 5 years. In other words, if the first 5 years don't kill you, the second 5 absolutely will. So what is it that causes all of this business failure? Is it the economy? Is it interest rates? Is it that we just can't find good people? Is it my mother-in-law? Is it my father-in-law? Is it my sister, my partner, my brother? All of the reasons we continually hear. Is it lack of capital? I'm going to suggest none of those are the reasons businesses fail in this country. And none of those are the reasons businesses will fail in this country. It has nothing to do with the economy. It has nothing to do with the interest rates. It has nothing to do with my father, my mother, my partner. It has nothing to do with the competition. It has to do with something significantly deeper and significantly more important. And most people seem unwilling to look at the fact of it. The problem in American business, ladies and gentlemen, is the person who owns that business. The problem in American business is that so-called entrepreneur. The problem is people who go into business in this country simply don't know what they're doing. And they create chaos and catastrophe every place they look. Because the fact of the matter is, they're not entrepreneurs. The E-myth is the entrepreneurial myth. And the entrepreneurial myth is at the foundation of every single business problem you will uncover in every single small business in American business as you walk up and down the street. Who is it then that goes into business? If it's not an entrepreneur, who starts that business down the street? Well, what I'm going to suggest is that it isn't an entrepreneur, it's a technician suffering from an entrepreneurial seizure. And what I mean by that is the carpenter becomes a contractor, the bookkeeper becomes a bookkeeper, the attorney opens up a legal practice, the doctor opens up a medical practice, The graphics designer opens up a graphics design business, each and every one of them believing, because I understand how to do the technical work of a business, I understand how to run a business that does that technical work. And it's 180 degrees from the truth. Knowing how to do the work in a business has nothing to do with creating a business that works. And it is the fatal assumption behind the failure of almost every single business you walk into. Every single business around. Because the owner of that business, the founder of that business, does not start a business as an entrepreneur would. The founder of that business starts a business for absolutely the wrong reason. They start a business to get rid of the boss. They start a business to get rid of the boss because they're working for somebody else. They're doing it, day in and day out, a master technician, a master auto mechanic, a master poodle clipper, and they're sitting there saying to themselves, why am I doing this for this guy? I could be doing this for me. Hell, any dummy can run a business. You said, I'm working for one. And knowing that, you decide, I could do this as well as this guy. And you start a business to get rid of the boss and instantly do what you never should have done, create a job. So what I'm going to suggest, ladies and gentlemen, for the purpose of this meeting, that most businesses you walk into aren't businesses at all. They're a job for the person who started it. And he's created the worst job of all. Working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, doing it, based upon one presupposition that sweat equity is what every little business is about. Who came up with that word? But a technician who's accustomed to working it, doing it, hasn't the faintest idea of how to create a business that works, simply creates a job that depends upon himself or herself and continues to do it over and over again until they don't want to do it anymore. Most businesses imprison the person who creates it. And I'm suggesting it doesn't have to be that way. So the problem in American business, and American business is small business, is that most American businesses, most small businesses don't work. The person who owns them do. The people who own them do. And they continue to do it until they just don't care anymore. Until they run out of steam. And it's a disaster. And it doesn't have to be that way. So ask yourself, what do you do every day? You pick up the phone, you open the doors, you close the doors, you sweep the floors. You're doing it. Whatever has to be done, you do. Why? Somebody's got to do it. And who's better than you? Can't find people who work as hard as you do. They come in late, they go home early, they're smoking dope at lunch. The problem of people, the problem of money, the problem of this, the problem of that, and what is really true is that every small business owner goes into business knowing that that business is going to be built upon his or her own personal skills. I am my business, everybody says. In the process, labeling themselves in a way that they never thought they were. I am my business, everyone says. If it weren't for me, there wouldn't be a business, they say proudly. But what happens when you don't want to do it anymore? You're out of business. And I want to talk about a man who I'm sure most people are familiar with. At least the company he created, most people are familiar with, and that's Tom Watson, the founder of IBM. You know, when I talk about IBM to small business people, they think to themselves, well, what is he talking about IBM for? I mean, you know, I'm not IBM. I don't want to be IBM. But just think about it for the moment. I think you've got to agree with me, IBM is a relatively successful company. You know, last year, IBM did $59 billion. Last year. Do you know what $59 billion, do you know what $1 billion is? $1 billion, ladies and gentlemen, is $1,000 a day for 3,000 years in small unmarked bills. Think about that. 59 times that last year. I mean, can you see it? How did you do that, Tom? I mean, you gotta wonder, what did the guy know that most people, IBM is bigger than most countries. IBM is, if not the, one of the most profitable businesses in the entire world, in the history of mankind. Nobody has created anything to match it. Well, you got to ask yourself, what did the guy know? Well, somebody asked him the question. And Tom Watson was purported to respond in the following way. He said, I did something at IBM that most people don't do. 3 things. The critical three things, he said, that differentiate IBM from everybody else. He said the first thing is I had a picture of what IBM would look like when it was finally done before I even started the business. I had a vision of what the business would look like when it was finished. You know, we talk about visionaries. What is a visionary? A visionary is someone who can see something. Where? Out there? No, in his head. He had a vision in his head, a picture of how the business would look when it was finally done. He saw this extraordinary organization, this extraordinary company, this monument, this testament to order, to control, to discipline, to integrity. The most extraordinary service business in the world is what he imagined he was about to create. So once I had a picture of what the business needed to look like when it was finally done, he said the second thing I did was to get a picture of how our people would look. The people that would be in IBM to produce that vision that I had in my mind. And he said, I saw this extraordinary army of people in their dark suits and their white crisp shirts and their black shining shoes. Missionaries. This army of missionaries out there in the world communicating to the world in a way that nobody had ever communicated to it before. And he said that was the person, the IBM man, he called it then. Excuse me, ladies. He said, finally, the third thing we did at IBM that nobody else did. He said, once I had a picture of what the business would look like when it was finally done, once I had a picture of how our people needed to look in order to bring that vision to the rest of the world, he said, the third thing I realized is that there is absolutely no difference between a big business and a small business. A big business is simply a small business, Tom Watson said, that did the right things. A big business is a small business that did the right things. He said if we were to start our business in the right way and do it as though it were the biggest business in the world, if we're able to act in the beginning as though this business were already complete, only then would we be able to do that. So he said we didn't go to work in IBM, we went to work on IBM to replicate the picture I had in my mind. Let me say that again because it's so critical. He said we didn't go to work in IBM, we went to work on IBM to replicate the picture, the vision I had in my mind. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm suggesting that that is the entrepreneurial perspective that's missing in 99.9% of all businesses in the world. Instead of going to work on their business, most people go to work in their business. Instead of going to work on their business to replicate a vision they have in their mind, they go to work in their business to replicate the only vision they have in their mind, which is that of work. The technician replicates a picture of work. The entrepreneur replicates a picture of a business that works. And that's why you'll find so many people working in their business, doing it, because they have no other picture of how to get it done. You get the point? The point is very, very, very simple, but so extraordinarily difficult to grasp. Tom Watson had a picture of a business out there. He could see it as though it were in his hand. Most other people are their business. They can't even separate themselves from their business. They get up and they do it, and 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 they can't imagine it getting done without them. Being technicians, they have this extraordinary focus on work, work, work. Being an entrepreneur has an extraordinary focus of creating a business that works. What is an entrepreneur really? An entrepreneur is an inventor of a business that works. The entrepreneur has a way of seeing the world and fashioning a business to solve a problem a technician cannot even grasp. So what's necessary? Very simply this, to change your point of view. And that's really what I want to do here today. See, I'm not going to be talking about how to do anything. What I'm really going to be talking about is what needs to be done. What does need to be done? What needs to be done to create a business that works is to go to work on your business, not in your business, to begin to get a business that works without you. If you could find a way to produce a business that works without you, your life would change like that. You're free. You know, it's been said that people learn by being given extraordinary models, examples. I want to give you probably the most extraordinary, exceptional example of all. I want to talk about a miracle. I want to talk about a miracle that was created in this country some years back that has literally been at the foundation of a revolution in business in this country, and nobody seems to know it. Now understand, I meet with the most sophisticated business people. I meet with the least sophisticated business people. I meet with people who, the minute I say this name, instantly know who I'm talking about. And the reality is, before I mention this business and this gentleman in this context, they never thought about it this way. Now, it's not because I'm so bright. It's just because people are so immersed in their own pictures of reality. I want to take you out of your experience and give you a totally new one. I want to talk about McDonald's. I want to talk about Ray Kroc. I want to talk about genius. And I want to talk about the fact that every single individual in this room could replicate his genius in any business you choose. Think about it. Ray Kroc was 52 years old when he found McDonald's. He didn't even found it. He found it. I mean, the McDonald brothers created McDonald's. He went to sell malted milk machines. He's a peddler of multi-mixer malted milk machines. He went to San Bernardino, met with the McDonald brothers, and they're sitting there making hamburgers. And they're doing this little system they'd created with kids in their clean little uniforms or their little golden arches. And he was so extraordinarily taken by what he saw, he convinced the McDonald brothers to give him the franchise rights to McDonald's. Well, they didn't need him. They're busy making hamburgers. And they already knew something that Ray Kroc didn't know. See, the McDonald brothers knew you can't franchise McDonald's. They'd already done it and failed. So why not? So they gave him away. And Ray Kroc went away to Des Plaines, Illinois, borrowed the money, because he didn't have any, to start his very first McDonald's, his prototype. Now see, at the outset, Ray Kroc could imagine thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of McDonald's hamburger stands throughout the world. He knew if we went to the moon, there'd be a McDonald's on the moon. Ray Kroc knew he had something. And he knew he had to do something that the McDonald brothers had not done. Ray Kroc knew who his customer was. You see, Ray Kroc understood who the most important customer of McDonald's was. It was the franchisee. It was the only way he was going to get the money to create those thousands of hamburger stands. See, Ray Kroc saw something that most people don't see. Ray Kroc realized that it wasn't hamburgers that was the product. It wasn't French fries that was the product. It was the business that was the product. So he went to work on the business, his true product, to shape it so that his consumer, the franchisee, would say, I'll take yours rather than somebody else's. You see, his competition was every other business opportunity around. Ray Kroc never worked in McDonald's, never made a hamburger, never made French fries, never did anything at all that you were all doing. Never did it. Realized that if he had to do it, he was out of business. The guy's 52 years old. How hard can you work? He applied, Ray Kroc did, the principles of the Industrial Revolution to the process of business development. He looked upon that McDonald's hamburger stand as though it were going to be manufactured thousands upon millions, upon hundreds of millions of times. And he asked himself the question, what do I have to do in the very first one to be able to replicate it faithfully over and over and over and over again so that any dummy could use it? What do I have to do to create a perfect little turnkey operation? What do I have to do to create a perfect little money machine? Because that's what the franchisee is really looking for. The franchisee isn't looking for a hamburger business. Franchisee doesn't care what kind of business it is as long as it works. To do what? Provide them with independence and security, the true products that Ray Kroc was really there to sell. Ray Kroc was selling independence and security to his very first, last, most important customer, the franchisee, because that's what the franchisee wanted. So Ray Kroc said, let me show you how my business will give you the independence and security you want. Turn the key and watch it. It works. Franchisee saw it and he said, I'll take it. Ray Kroc said, not yet. You won't first. You got to go to school. What school? Hamburger U. Think about it. The University of Hamburgerology. The most extraordinary business school in the world. What do you learn at Hamburger U? How to run the machine. What machine? McDonald's. The franchisee went to school, learned how to run the machine, graduated. Ray Kroc gave him a Big Mac plaque and he said, now you got the secret. But I warn you, he said, don't ever, ever change it, because if you change it, we'll take it away. It's the goose that lays the golden eggs. Because it works, so you don't have to. And the franchisee swore, and they walked away, and they didn't change it. And if they did, Ray Kroc sacked them like that. Why? Because the system is the solution, AT&T said. Ray Kroc said it long before. The system is the solution, not people, not the product. The system is the solution. Because Ray Kroc and Tom Watson and Walt Disney and the founder of Midas Muffler and the founders of Supercuts, every single one of them knew identically the same thing. The one thing the consumer wants more than anything else, the one product that is true of every great business, that every entrepreneur is there to create in that business, the one word that describes what you're selling in your business is control. C-O-N-T-R-O-L. The consumer's control over their experience when they come to buy from you. And if you can give that customer what they want the very first time, and you can replicate it faithfully every single time from that point on, that customer will continually choose to come back. And that's the business Ray Kroc was in. And he realized that if it was up to his franchisee, he'd be out of business. Because the franchisee, being a technician, would go and do it, and destroy it in the process. Ray Kroc realized that McDonald's wasn't in the restaurant business. It was in the fuel business. Fill me up, you got it. Fill me up, you got it. And he did it every single time in identically the same way. And it was his ability to do it every single time in identically the same way, in a clean, organized, shining, colorful environment that differentiated McDonald's from every other restaurant around. Did it work? Well, think about it. Today, McDonald's is the most extraordinary business of its kind in the world. Today, McDonald's is the largest restaurant in the world. Today, McDonald's is the largest purveyor of food in the world. Today, McDonald's feeds 22 million people a day in this country alone. Today, McDonald's is the #1 growth stock. The #1 growth stock in this country. And it started in 1952. Today, McDonald's feeds millions upon millions of people, day after day after day after day, producing $1,600,000 in gross revenues per store, with 10,000 stores nationwide, each and every one of them doing identically the same thing in identically the same way, producing identically the same result for a consumer who never gets tired of it. Their next competitor is only half their size. McDonald's opens a new store today every 17 hours. Think about this. Most people don't realize this extraordinary machine of prosperity in the hands of minimum wage kids with a 300% annual personnel turnover every year. Not a professional manager in the company. What did Ray Kroc know? Ray Kroc realized the system is the solution. What do most small business owners make the mistake of doing? They make the mistake of believing that they have to build a business on their own personal skill. Ladies and gentlemen, if you got to do that, you're out of business the minute you can't do it anymore. The system is the solution. What am I suggesting? A revolution has taken place in this country. 54% of all retail sales in this country today are made in franchised outlets. 54%. By the year 2000, the Department of Commerce tells us that more than 60% of all retail sales in this country will be conducted in some franchise business. Franchising has become a revolution. I call it the turnkey revolution. And at the heart of the turnkey revolution is what Ray Kroc understood years and years ago. That in fact, the system is the solution. And as soon as you begin to look at your business as a system, you'll begin to do it differently. What's the message? Very simply this. I'm going to suggest you go to work on your business as though you were going to replicate it 5,000 times. I'm going to suggest that you go to work on your business as though you were going to replicate it 5,000 times. I'm going to suggest that rather than going to work in your business every single day, rather than going to work in your business, I'm going to suggest you go to work on your business as though you were going to replicate it 5,000 times, as though you're going to create this perfect little prototype that you could replicate over and over and over again and put it into the hands of any dummy. Am I suggesting that you're going to hire dummies? No. What I'm suggesting is you do not need to hire experts if you've created an expert system that leverages ordinary people to produce extraordinary results, and that's the secret of success behind every extraordinary business. If you're to begin to think of your business as though it were a prototype for 5,000 more just like it, guess what's going to happen? You'd have to solve the problems today that you're going to confront when you open up number 2, number 7, number 12, and number 15. You'd have to begin to think of the end product of your effort. And the problem is most people don't. They simply go to work. Well, how would you do that? Let's just imagine that were the case. Let's just imagine that, in fact, what you're going to do is to go to work on your business, not in it. Let's just imagine that today is going to be the very first day of this new business of yours. You're going to create a system that works. You're not going to create people that work. Well, what you would end up creating is what I call a turnkey operation. What is a turnkey operation? A turnkey operation is a system of integrated components that works in an absolutely predictable fashion. And there are 4 levels of components within that system. Let me describe them. The first level, the foundational level, is called how we do it here. What's true about every extraordinary company is there's a proprietary way they have of doing business. This is how we do it here, they say. This is how we do it at Federal Express. This is how we do it at McDonald's. This is how we do it at IBM. This is how we do it at Disney. This is how we do it. This is how we do it. This is how we do it. And that's what differentiates us from everybody else, because they don't have a way of doing it. The second system or component in this hierarchy of systems is the system by which you recruit, hire, and train people to use the first system. And that is certainly a system. And they use just such a system at all the companies that I've just mentioned. The third system is a system by which you manage those first 2 systems. A management system. To do what? To monitor the use of the systems, to discover flaws in them. Because the most extraordinary businesses in the world are focused on finding a better way. They're what I call best way companies. They're constantly trying to find a better way. To do what? To do what they do. To do what? To differentiate themselves from everybody else. How? By giving the customer the sense of control in our business that they don't have anyplace else. The clean workings of Disneyland. You know, you ask people, what do you remember about the park? And what they all say is it's clean. Now think about it. They don't talk about Mickey. They don't talk about Pluto. They don't talk about... They say it's clean. Now why in the world would that matter to people? Because every place else is so dirty. How did Walt do that? Every night at Disneyland, they steam clean the entire park. And they've been doing that in Anaheim for over 35 years. Think about that. To do what? To create this sense of order in the mind of the consumer. which instantly differentiates them from everybody else. Every place else is dirty, our place is not. And finally, the fourth system in this hierarchy of systems is what I call the business development system, the system by which we're continually innovating, quantifying, and orchestrating what needs to be done in our business. Innovation, finding a better way. Quantification, making sure how well it works. And orchestration, making sure that it works that way every single time by eliminating discretion or choice at the operating level of our business. Great businesses don't happen by accident. And what every great entrepreneur understood is that if I have to build a business built upon great people, I'm in trouble, because they're going to end up going into business for themselves. What I'm looking for are what is out there by the droves, ordinary people. People who want an extraordinary place to go to work where they can have an opportunity to grow, and we're going to give them that place to build their own personal career using a system and helping us to innovate in that system to make it work better and better and better. For whom? For the shareholders of the company, for the entrepreneurial founders, for the managers of the company, for the employees of the company, for the customer, and for the world. There's 7 very critical steps in this process, and I'd like to just cover them briefly with you. Now, you see that you're going to build a turnkey system. You see that you're going to build a turnkey operation. You see that what your real focus is to build a money machine. In other words, a business that will work whether you're there or not. When you're finally done with this thing, you have a choice. One, you can franchise it if you wanted to, because you're going to solve all the problems associated with your business and instantly have it stand out in the world. A video production company like no other video production company in the world. A small business consulting firm like no other small business consulting firm in the world. A brokerage firm like no other brokerage firm in the world. A contracting firm like no other contracting firm in the world. You name the business. An auto repair firm like no other auto repair firm in the world. Why? Because you went to work on it to find out how to make it work better than anyone else's. Better as defined by whom? By the customer. Customer's got to end up saying, you do that? You say, yeah. And so you could franchise this when you're finally done. If you didn't want to franchise it, you could go out and hire yourself a general manager, teach him the system, and get lost. Just call in every Sunday. What are the numbers? You know what the numbers have to be. Ray Kroc knew what the numbers had to be. They measure that business in seconds. You ask most small business people what the numbers are, they look at you with a blank. What numbers? Who's got time to count? I'm working. Get yourself a manager. The manager will run the system for you. And finally, if you're a glutton for punishment, once you've created this system, you could go to work yourself if you wanted to. The only difference is now you're producing 10 times the result with 1/3 of the effort. Why? Because you got a system that works and you're working it. It's the leverage each and every one of us needs, and so few have. 7 steps to the process of building a business that works. The first, what do I want? Not for my business. I call it your primary aim. What do you want for your life? You don't have a picture of what you want for your life, you're not going to get it. The second step, now you have a picture of what you want for your life, now comes the business. Because the business is a means to an end, not an end in itself. The business is supposed to give you more life. Who wants a business? What a waste of time. What a jerky thing to do. Think about it. We get so excited about the idea, we're free, I got a business, now I get to work 462 hours a week. Oh, honey, I can't wait. You never leave it. You go home, you talk business, you get up, you talk business. Everything is business and nothing works. Your strategic objective is the picture you're going to have of a business that works to give you more life. It's what your gross revenues will be, what gross profits will be, what your net pre-tax profits are going to be. Who's your customer going to be? Where are you going to be? You're going to be local, you're going to be national, you're going to be international. What is this business going to look like when it's finally done? It's that vision that I talked about, that Tom Watson had, that Ray Kroc had, that every extraordinary entrepreneur has of the business when it's done. It's like the blueprint of the house you're going to complete. Unless you know what it's going to look like, how are you going to start? The third, an organization chart. Every small business needs an organization chart. You say, what do I need a chart for? He does this, I do that. Who needs boxes? You know. Because the biggest problem in small business is we build a business around people rather than around functions. We build a business around people rather than around functions. And when a person leaves, the business collapses. Oh my God, Mary left. Now what do I do? Let's get another Mary. Well, what did Mary do? Everything! You run this ad. Wanted person to do everything. $4.25 an hour. Expert at marketing, expert at administration, expert at taking my shirts in, expert at taking them out. Who answers the ad? Nobody. So you got to hire 17 people to replace Mary. You said, I didn't realize. You need an organization chart. You need to begin to think of the business functionally. What are the position contracts for these positions within your firm? There's a marketing position, there's an operations position, there's a finance position. Who's accountable for them? What are the standards by which we're going to measure them? Fourth, a management system. We need to create a picture of how we're going to manage here, and then every manager needs to be taught how to do that. Fifth, people development. Well, most people say to me, I can't find good people, I can't afford good people. That's my problem. That's not your problem. Just as lack of capital isn't your problem. Money doesn't make money, brains make money. Money doesn't make money, brains make money. People are using them the wrong way in their own business. So brains also create an environment in which people feel like they belong. So what we need to do is not find extraordinary people. We need to create an extraordinary business that attracts ordinary people and gives them a possibility to become extraordinary in their own mind. People development, extremely important in this system that we're going to create. Marketing development, who's your customer? There's demographics, there's psychographics. Demographics is the science of marketplace reality. It tells us who buys. Psychographics is the science of perceived reality. It tells us why those people buy. Who buys? Why do they buy? You need to position yourself in the mind of that consumer in a very special way. And finally, systems development. Hard systems, soft systems, and information systems. Hard systems are all the things around us. The colors of the floors, the colors of the walls, the golden arches, the color of Federal Express's truck, the whole design of this finished product. If our business is our product, we need to begin to see it visually and begin to understand that every piece of it has to be put together in such a way that instantly says, this is for you. Soft systems, the words we use, what somebody says when they answer the phone, what someone says in a sales process, what somebody says in this and what somebody says in that. All the soft systems related to the sound, the content that we're communicating. Finally, information systems. This is how we count. What is our return on equity? What is our return on investment? What is this? What is that? What, and how much? So when we innovate, we can quantify. We know the impact of what we do. So what I'm really suggesting, ladies and gentlemen, is a very simple principle. The reason most businesses don't work is because the people who own them do. And they're doing the wrong kind of work. And if they were to go to work on their business with this picture of a business that works without them and begin to construct it, manufacture it, engineer it, systematize it, can it, so that they could literally hold it in their hand, hold it out here, see it whole. They could see the business as apart from them rather than a part of them. What I'm suggesting, your life would change. If you could do that in your business, so you don't become a seller of insurance. It sells and you manage it. What is it? That's for you to decide. Why do this as compared to that? Because the customer wants it. What does the customer want? You better find out. Because that's the business of the entrepreneur. Not what you believe to be true, but what they perceive they need. If you get it, if you want it, if you do it this way, everything will change. And the future will be yours. Thank you.